Ladies and freaking gentlemen, hi. I'm Cuscopia here with another rant. Yeah. I had to address this because I've been laughing for almost 24 hours now. I don't know if it's been 24 hours since that mad lad went up to the mic during a question and answer session for the Diablo 3 Immortal mobile game and legit asked the guys if there was an out of season April Fool's joke. I was just at TwitchCon and I attended a lot of panels, and man, just the thought of like in that big of a stage, just terrific. So I want to address a lot of things, so I'm going to try and not digress too much. If you don't know the context of this video and what I'm going to talk about, Blizzard announced the Diablo game, and it was going to make a big deal out of it at BlizzCon, like they should, and they were, like, I guess, not a bigger deal than the other franchises. It's just an announcement, a Diablo announcement, and a lot of people got super excited. Turns out to be a mobile game. And not only is it a mobile game, but it's a clone from a Chinese shovelware, apparently. I haven't looked into it, but it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't matter if it's Chinese or not. It is going to be a clone from some shovelware, which is probably a clone from whatever game is now forgotten somewhere in the trash heaps of the app stores, and that's probably a clone of something too. And down the line, you got a really successful game like Game of War or something, which is at the source of all thousands of clones, the mobile gaming industry. So reactions to this, and they have been mostly hilarious to me. I'll admit, I'm not a Diablo fan, but I'm definitely not a mobile gaming fan. And it's hilarious. People meme, they're super funny. The dislike ratio in the announcement trailer video is terrific. You gotta respect the guy that in the QA question and answer goes up and bam. Now I want to hit first on the reactions to that guy. So that guy was a reaction to the announcement, one of many reactions that have had me bawling for hours. But I want to talk about reactions to this guy, because some people are like me. He didn't. Wow. Other people are, I don't know, not a lot of people, to be frank, but I still want to touch upon the fact that he's being called disrespectful, rude, entitled, and all of this stuff. So I think if anybody, like, I don't understand the argument to be made. From what I saw in the footage, I don't see what was so disrespectful or rude. I mean, the guy was disappointed, as he has a right to be. That's not it being entitled. Entitlement, I don't know. If he had gone up to the mic and demanded that they put it on PC, that would have been a bit entitled, right? Or like, how dare you do this to us, If he had said something about it like this, but, if he had run at the stage yelling out, "Is this an out-of-season April Fool's?" Foaming at the mouth or something, but, if he had gotten naked, I don't know. Like, he waited in line. He got up to the mic. Is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke? And then he waited for the reply. And then he went and sat down. Like, I don't understand why you gotta vilify the guy. He just demonstrated his disappointment. I mean, I don't know if it's courage in the face of a crowd, or if it's just like complete social lack of awareness. I know a guy like that. He will just yell in the middle of the street if he's excited and isn't really aware of. He doesn't really manifest the usual hesitations that most people do when they're surrounded by strangers. And it might have been simply something like that. I remember sitting next to that guy in a huge musical concert for video games. And they announced that they're going to play Sonic, and he makes a awful joke, because he's not a fan of Sonic, about, well, all the new games, about how crappy Sonic has become. And just makes it out loud, and people are like, what the hell? Some people are like not that, but I don't think, could have been way worse, I think. And I think it was fine. People cheered and laughed, and the guys gave their PR answer. There was another thing. I saw the same people who were vilifying him also said that their answer was so respectful and so glorious. It was a PR, non-addressing, non-involved answer. It wasn't a real, like, I think a good answer on their part would have been like, I understand that you're disappointed. You probably wanted a new Diablo 4 or a proper expansion to the PC game. You're probably a PC gamer. We understand that our core player base is mainly PC gamers. Call them hardcore gamers if you want to gain some favor. I don't care much for the term, but hey, a lot of people do. Diablo fans, I think, do. We understand that, but we want to expand the Diablo family. We want to expand the amount of people who love Diablo and who want to experience it. And we do believe that if you're a Diablo fan, you will enjoy this experience. Instead, it was the typical, I call it E3 jargon, just not saying anything, PR, whatever. So I don't know why anyone would think that was a good answer. I don't think it was a good answer. It was a panic answer, which I don't blame the guys. And that's the other thing I want to touch upon, the other side of this equation. Because a lot of people I know, foaming at the mouth, are asking, why would they do this? How can they decide to do this? And why? In all seven hells would they bring this to BlizzCon? BlizzCon, not Blitz, BlizzCon. Why? Why would they think that this was a good idea? Even if they think they're gonna make money out of this, they will. Why would they bring it to all their most hardcore, all the fans that are willing to pay a lot of money and make huge travels just to be there, right? Even if they're there for other games. Because that's another thing that you need to remember. People who were at the Diablo panel were there instead of being at Overwatch panel or whatever other panels were happening at the same time. Unless it was a keynote. I retract that. I don't know about that. Never mind about that. But I just figured maybe they could have been somewhere else in the convention. And so, like, I'm here instead of there, and this is what I'm here for. Mobile game. Anyway. So how the decision gets made, right? It's very simple. I talked about this in one of my cogitations videos. The people who make these kinds of decisions are in a role where they need to come up with projects that make more money. There's other journalists and other commentators commenting about this reality, reminding people of this reality, that the people at the top, the people making decisions, the managers and the leaders, it's their job is not to just show up at 9 to 5, go through emails and make decisions regarding a specific product in the sense of making it work or dealing with sales or dealing, it's not anything you can imagine. Their job is this product needs to make more money than the previous product. All right? It's not, it needs to make more money than it costs. It's not, it needs to make good money. It's not, it needs to make an X money, even though they will give an X value. But this X value will be 120% of this previous value. Otherwise, they can't sell the other higher ups on the company on the project, and they can't kickstart the project. And once the project is kickstarted, they need to meet those huge profits. Because if the game does not turn more of a profit than the previous product, then it's a failure. That's the thing. So they come up with the mobile game because there's a lot of money in this, and they come up with, and to make it even more juicier to approve and to green light, they're like, this is a proven formula. Look at this game. It uses this kind of monetization, and it uses an IP that is way less popular than ours, and look how successful it was, right? So we're just going to do this, and it's going to be awesome. And the guys are like, awesome. And so they will go ahead, and they hire a bunch of people. And a bunch of people start working on this game. And all of them, without exception, know that Diablo fans are gonna hate it. Unless they don't know anything about Diablo, which is also possible. But if they do, they are, like, if they're Diablo fans themselves, I can tell you, it pains them to work on this game. It pains them to go up on the stage and sell it. But they're on the job. And when you're on the job, I've been in that position before, like, you can't have negativity in the workplace. You make it a hell for everybody. And especially in the United States, where there's so little protection for jobs, I think people are even more... my screen was all screwed. I think people are even more... people will be even more encouraged to be happy-go-lucky about whatever they're doing and to really believe in the project, you know, kind of start lying to themselves even, which sounds too terrible, but I think it's super normal. It happens all the time, I think, in workplaces. With the least bit of unhappiness or sad thing going on, you start lying to yourself that it's not bad, because you got to be there every day. You got to do your best there because it's your curriculum, it's your CV. You're building up your career, even if you're just doing 9 to 5, just making it work stuff. And you want it to succeed. You don't want to be working for a year or two on a failing game, you know, on a game that's going to just disappoint and fail, you know. So when someone comes up, a head guy that doesn't really understand the fandom, and he says, like, all right, BlizzCon is coming, we're going to have a panel. And this is where, in the meeting room, poker faces. We're going to have a panel? Yes, we're going to announce the game. It's going to be a huge thing. We're going to have a huge line for people to play the game at the convention so they can really experience it. And because from his point of view, it's what you do. It's what you do in the AAA industry with all these big titles. You go to conventions and you do this, especially if it's your convention, right? But he doesn't understand the fandom. The other people who do, poker faces. All right. Okay. All right. If you've worked in a lot of companies, and especially in the gaming industry, you have been in a meeting room where a guy announces something, and you can feel in the room that the response should be elation, but the response is instead reservation, and that is because the real response inside of people is, this is a terrible idea. But nobody's going to say that. They're going to smile and say, yes, all right, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do the best we can. Let's do the best job we can, you know? So I really do believe that the people up on the panel, I don't remember their roles, most of them, I don't know, don't deserve, like, hate, abuse. Hardly anyone who ever is liable to getting hate or abuse in social media or whatever hardly deserves it. Because the people putting them up to it are like not targeted at all, and they're the ones behind the decisions. But at the you know, they're accomplices. You know, it's tough. It's tough. But in their position, I would just take it. I would be miserable. I would be really sad. I would be really disappointed. And it is a terrible situation to be in. But you know. It is not saying no. It is not saying enough. It is being an accomplice, and that's what it is, you know. But hey, you know, I would be miserable. I would be sad, but I would have my job, and I would have my bills paid, you know, and I would hopefully still have my family and everything, and my friends, and everything is still healthy and happy. So it's good. I mean, it's a bad situation, but it's not going to ruin anyone's life. But just to give you guys like a different perspective on how this kind of idea just gets to this point, basically, because I do believe they shouldn't have taken to BlizzCon. Finally, the third thing I want to talk about is your hate and how utterly meaningless it is. In fact, it's not only meaningless, but it actually helps Blizzard Activision. It actually helps this kind of strategy. This kind of game product to take hold of the industry. And I will give you an idea. So, for example, the YouTube dislike ratio, right? It's pretty like 98% dislike or something right now on their YouTube trailer. It's funny. I think it's funny. But what's going to happen is 1-2 years from now, a guy is going to come up and he's going to talk to someone about applying this kind of strategy to, I don't fucking, Smash Brothers. I know I just gave you a heart attack, but Smash Brothers, let's make a mobile game out of Smash Brothers with all these different IPs. Let's go crazy, nuts, and do the most revenue freaking successful mobile game ever by using all of these IPs, right? And we'll use this actual gameplay formula, which has been used in all of these games in China and in Europe and in America. It's all the same formula and it's all working great. Gambling mechanics galore. You know? And then people are going to say, I don't know about this. I think our fan base is going to really hate it. We're going to get a lot of backlash. It's going to be very controversial. And the guy is going to say, well, who gives a crap? I have the proof indeed. Remember when Diablo 3 did their mobile game? Well, you can look here. This is the dislike ratio to this day on their gameplay reveal trailer. Look at that. Millions of let's just say it, 2 million dislikes and 100 likes. And the comments, look at this, racism, and they'll like take the right comments, you know, just pure hate, mindless, crazy hate, because that's what fans are. They're rabid animals. Here are some tweets from people, just mad hate, right? And yet, let's take a look at the sales. Let's take a look at the revenues that Blizzard pulled out. Look at how the stock went up when this game took a hold of the market. Look at how many sales it did. Look at the retention values. Look at the acquisition. So, in conclusion, dear boss man who makes all the decisions, and also worker who might not be super excited to work on this project and who I fear will have his performance dampened and hurt when the feedback and the backlash hits. Both ends of the spectrum, both high and low, look at these things. Do not listen to the hate, because the values show that people actually like these kinds of games. This is an argument I actually heard, that money is value and people put their value on what they value. If people didn't like these games, if people didn't actually enjoy themselves and enjoy these experiences, they wouldn't spend money. And I know this argument is dumb, but it is the argument they use. And they use in a perpetual cycle of greenlighting this same games over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. So, it's not gonna matter. You can tweet, you can dislike the video, you can go on Reddit and thumbs down everything Blizzard Activision posts about every other game. You can do all of that. But it's not gonna matter, because eventually you're gonna go to the bathroom and you're gonna be taking a crap and you're gonna be looking at your app store and you're gonna see Diablo and you're like, man, I really like Diablo. Well, it's just 5 minutes, and you're gonna install the game and you're gonna play the game. And eventually you're gonna pay to play the game, because gambling and addiction, and so very few of us are prepared for it. So, it's not gonna matter. In fact, the more you hate it now, the more you cement that the hate doesn't matter, like for next time. There have been, you can point out, like I'm thinking about this like ratio on Battlefront 2, Reddit post, whatever. But what happened there was different. What happened there was that people actually didn't buy the game, because that was a PC game, so we had some control. But the thing is, dear Diablo fans, you're gonna have very little control over the mobile market, because I think you're not there, and if you are, I think you're gonna be the guy taking a crap and going for it. Maybe I'm wrong though, but I can tell you this, from an inside perspective, from an outside perspective, from, I don't want to say what kind of perspective, but here's an idea. Think about it and see if it makes sense to you. Here's an idea of something that you can do to guarantee that this kind of thing doesn't happen again with your prized IPs, at least as far as Blizzard Activision's IPs are concerned. StarCraft, Overwatch, Diablo, and Warcraft, and all of them. Here's one. When the game comes out, download it. Play it for 1 hour exactly. Put a timer on it, do whatever you can, spend no money, time yourself. Whatever happens in that hour, happens, you know? Then you stop and you uninstall. Now, at this point, I can tell you right now, anyone in Blizzard Activision will be very happy with the suggestion because they want you to play the game. It's acquisition. They want you to play the game. But I'm about to explain why we make this sacrifice risk, why we take this risk. Because there is the risk where you decide not to uninstall because you actually like the game. It's shocking, I know. So, after you uninstall the game, you submit a review of 1 star, or 2 stars if 1 is the minimum. So 1 if 0 is the minimum. And if you're forced to leave a message, just write something like, I didn't like this game. Or just write, I thought I would like this game since I love Diablo, but it's nothing like it. You know, don't flame, do not be sarcastic or ironic. Don't think about someone screenshotting your crap, you know, and putting it on Reddit and giving you momentary fame, you know. Think about the stats, all right? Because I'm about to explain to you why this would be a strategy that would actually create an impact. Make an impact. Because you see, if nobody downloads the game, the conclusion will likely be not that it was a bad idea, but that the marketing was bad. For example, taking it to BlizzCon was a bad idea. Putting it out a YouTube video on the channel was a bad idea. Stuff marketing related, you know. It might be, the conclusion might be that the idea was bad in that sort of situation. It really depends on the power and say of the marketing department at the studio. At the end of the day, there's always one guy that you gotta convince. But if you want to make sure that there's no way to explain it the failure away, you prove marketing worked just fine by installing. That's acquisition done right. And acquisition in the gaming industry has nothing to do with the game itself. Never. In the times of demos, playable demos and stuff, maybe you could make that argument, but nowadays, I can guarantee you, nobody thinks the game has anything to do with acquisition. So their numbers of installs will be high, so acquisition worked, but then the game itself will have a terrible ratio and you must give no indication that the terrible ratio, the terrible reception, you know, the terrible penetration and retention, you must give no indication that it comes out of blind hate. Because then they will just, again, justify it on other things, you know, because we need, I'm not going to do it like you do it if you care about it. You need to give them terrible stats without providing any evidence that they are coming out of an ideological campaign of hate, which is how they always paint you guys, us. It's how they always paint the fans, you know? Everything that is negative is done out of blind hate and should thus, the failure that comes out of it should not be counted on. It's a statistical, what's the word? Outlier. It's an outlier. It's an outlier situation, you know? So, only one conclusion will remain. It's not blind hate. It wasn't bad marketing. People did install the game. And some people even install the game because they love Diablo, but then they just didn't like it. And in general, there was no inappropriate hate or seemingly mindless desire. You know, there's just one conclusion to take for Blizzard Activision to take, which is, this wasn't a good idea. We can't do this with Diablo. Diablo IP does not work with this kind of game. It would be the same as if they did a first-person shooter of Diablo, which makes no sense, right? But you make a first-person shooter of Diablo, it doesn't do well, and so you decide, all right, we can't do first-person shooters of Diablo. It's the same thing, and they will probably decide that or be against doing this kind of thing with any of their other IPs. So they wouldn't do RTSs out of Overwatch, and they wouldn't do a mobile game out of Heroes of the Storm, which obviously is what's coming next of Diablo. So anything else? Well, maybe Warcraft. Maybe StarCraft. Yeah, never mind. I don't know which they will use. So, anything else out of these parameters and the odds that it will succeed enough to prompt such a strategy in other franchises from other companies are very high. It's already happened, right? You got Star Wars, you got Star Wars mobile games, you got Witcher mobile game. So a lot of franchises, a lot of companies are doing this. So the odds that it will happen to Blizzard Activision and anyone else are very high. Because whatever failing it has, the people who had this idea, you need to remember this. The people who had this idea, who sold this idea, they hold a position in the company. They want to be rewarded. They want the promotion. They want to climb higher. They want the idea to succeed. So whatever failings it has, they will want to justify it. And I'm talking about outside of PR, please don't hate us industry. I'm talking inside the company, convincing people who make ideas for the next 10 years, the next 5 years. Those people need to be left with no excuse other than, all right, was a bad idea, you know. And I feel bad for giving you this suggestion because I'm basically giving you a checklist of how to fuck up, of how to screw up some careers. Potentially. I don't think this kind of failure will ruin anyone's career terribly, but I don't know the personal situation of everyone involved that needs this game to work and to be a success. I don't know. I mean, maybe if this game fails, Blizzard Activision just fires all the mobile developers it hired, you know, and it puts them in a really bad spot. So I feel kind of bad. But I'm just saying, if you, as a fan of Diablo, want to make a freaking impact, if you, as like someone in the gaming industry, a gamer, you know, and is tired of seeing this kind of thing happening and is noticing that it's just getting worse, and I do use the word worse, you know. I feel for the people whose jobs are affected. But in the long run, this will be terrible for them as well. This will be terrible for everyone. Because it will be a lot of miserable people making products that only make people addicts. And nobody's having fun. Nobody's happy. Nobody's, you know, enjoying their lives. I think I'm going to leave it. That's quite the leap to make. And it's definitely not something I've thought a lot about. I don't know if that's the actual end game where we're headed with all of this. I think it's a bit exaggerated, a bit doomsayer of me to go that far. But you're welcome. Don't hate on Red Shirt Bald Guy. Don't hate on him. He's just a disappointed fan throwing some banter, some shade. Like, it's the least that you could get. Come on. Don't. I thought it was funny. I don't know. If I would be them, I also would think it would be really put me on the spot and I'd be yeesh. But afterwards I'd be laughing because it's like, holy mackerel. And I know, because I've been in a position of seeing feedback and going to eyeing my fellow developers, going like, yeah, I know exactly what he's talking about. Yeah, you know, what do you expect? It's such an uncomfortable situation. And yeah, I mean, but if you are hating just because you're having fun, hey man, have fun. Enjoy your life. There's so little joy to be found, right? You gotta find it. Just try and not go too hard on people is all I'm saying. Social networks get really crazy. The same way you shouldn't vilify Red Shirt Bald Guy, the mad lad. You also shouldn't vilify the guys who are on the panels or the faces that you see selling the product. Very rarely the people making the decisions. It might be the guy actually selling the idea to the people making the decisions. So maybe one of them. I don't know. I didn't look into it. I'm not a journalist. I'm just a guy from the gaming industry giving his opinion. And ranting. Mostly ranting. All right. This has gone long enough. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.